Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Pardon my short bit of tardiness this morning. Technical difficulties, as you can imagine. Doug, don't kill my Moscow time stuff. Come on. That's number one in Moscow time. The ocean, indeed. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You guys, oh, no, that's the wrong one. What are we going to do? All right. Indeed. It is unexplainably cooling. What are we going to do, huh? What are we going to do? Robert, perfect timing for me. Glad you made it. Kevin saying hello from Busan, Korea. Wow, I used to live there, Kevin. I am an expert in Busan, Korea. Where are you in Busan, Korea? Let me know. I live there as a 21-year-old man, 22-year-old, 21 to 23. Yeah, that makes no 22 to 24. Yeah, that was a great time, Kevin. I lived in Dongnae, as well as over on the Nakdok River, which is the Busan perimeter, they say, from the Korean War. I spent most of my time, though, in Haeundae, as you could imagine. And I even had a family that I lived with in Haeundae, and I would spend 2 or 3 nights a week there. They were going to school and preparing to go to high school in Canada, so they just needed like hangout stuff. It was pretty great, and that's where all the beaches were, so that's why you found me there all the time. So I'm a big fan of Busan, Korea, Kevin. Lucky to be there. I've been back once. I went back in 2000, well, twice, 2008, 2009. I went back each year. I haven't been back to Busan since. It's changed a lot. It changed a lot already in the time that I was there. Yeah, it is beautiful, Kevin. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. I love it there. I spent a lot of time. If you go to the top of the mountain that runs through the city, you can take a cable car up from Ochunjang. And if you're looking for a beautiful hike, you can go from Ochunjang and you take the cable car to the top, and then you can walk along the top of the mountain, the whole ridge, and then you come down at Bamosa, the Buddhist temple. And that was I honestly did that at least once a week. That was my jog. I would take the cable car up and run the whole length of the mountain, come back down into Bamosa, and then you could go back to, because I lived, Dongnae is very near that part of the city, and I would go to the spas in Ochunjang. There's all the hot springs, so I would hang out at the hot springs, and my regular Friday night was to go to the hot springs. I wouldn't even go home. I would go buy new clothes. I got so used to throwing clothes away when I lived there. I would just throw them away, right? Underwear, because everything was like $1. Everything was $1. So sure, underwear, socks, buy some new outfits. Some stuff I would keep, but I would keep it in a locker at the hot spring and then just go out and party. A lot of alcoholism going on when I lived there. It was crazy. All right. Well, the sun is probably not up where you are. It probably just went down. But let me just let you all know that we've got a beautiful sunrise here on the east coast of North America, and Bitcoin is running without any trouble. So let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. So, indeed, someone let the cat out of the bag right off the bat. We had Doug T letting the cat out of the bag about what's going on with Moscow time. What's the fakest news today? Bad news, everyone. It's not as hot as it was. We're losing some of our beautiful heat, right? No one can figure out why the Atlantic Ocean is cooling at record speed. Now, what I remember in the summer at the beginning, this is just going to be my hypothesis, right? Remember at the beginning of the summer, they said, when's the heat going to end? And then in the Canadian news, they said, never. And I said, no. Hold on. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it's going to end towards the end of August or September. Some people call it autumn or fall, and then that would end the summer heat, right? So I know they're trying to figure out what's going on here. I have a feeling it might be. Now, hold on. I think it might be the season's changing, but we'll see. Well, I got to wait for the scientists. We're just not sure. Nobody knows. No one knows, right? When they said the heat wouldn't end, I went out on a limb like a contrarian, like the Bitcoiner I am, and I said, no, it'll end in the autumn. The heat will end in the autumn. Now, they're trying to figure out what's going on. Right? I anticipate this is going to be everywhere. What's going on? What's happening? Why is the heat? What's happening with the heat, right? But it's not just the heat. We're losing the heat everywhere, right? We're losing the heat everywhere. It looks like over in England, the UK, right? This year's unusually wet spring and chaotic summer. Remember those times where it got to 80 and 90? Remember the all-time summer heat wave in the UK when it hit 90? Well, apparently their apples and their grapes, and it's also Poland. Okay, Poland is not hot anymore. Okay, Poland, guys. Now, I'm sitting there saying, shit, what am I going to do with the blander harvests from Poland and UK? Because they say it's going to affect apples and grapes. Oh, no. All the UK apples and grapes and the Polish apples, and everybody knows the Polish apples. What are we going to do without the Polish apples? But, guys, don't worry. Don't worry. I got even better news for you. It's okay if we don't have the grapes and the apples from Poland, okay? It's okay. Because Business Insider has some tips. They're letting us know the process behind harvesting 50 million crickets for food. 50 million? What? That's what we needed. All the apples that we're not getting from Poland because of their chaotic weather, we can finally get the 50 million crickets we always needed to fill in the gap, right? To fill in the gap, you need the 50 million crickets. Now, I got a little worry here. You're going to see at the end of Moscow time, I'm going to do a complete reversion. They got a few stories right in the news today, so we're going to talk about those. But here's the next one that I have. I'm starting to get a little suspicious, okay, that they're figuring out, that the sludge people are figuring out economics, okay? Look at this next story from the Associated Press, right? This goes right in lockstep, right? No apples in Poland. They're figuring out economics. They're going to say, oh, just eat crickets. Just eat crickets, right? Now, this one's great, right? So this is related. When they get the blackouts from the heat and the extreme weather, they have figured out the economics. Blackouts in extreme weather. So when you lose your power, okay, there's a demand for power. No way. If you don't have electricity, then the demand goes up. Supply and demand, everyone. Supply and demand, okay? It's the same with the crickets and the apples in Poland. Okay, that's why. All right. Now, again, I told you they were going to figure out the economics. They're trying, right? They're trying. This is good advice, right? Sometimes you just have to ignore the economists. They say this is about the price control stuff, right? Kamala Harris's proposed price gouging ban might irritate academics. You can't do that, right? But it makes sense to everyone else, says Zephyr Teachout. Right? So it makes sense to everyone. Everyone knows that if you're the vice president and part of the administration for 4 years and you keep complaining that the economy is going to shit and that the prices are going up no matter what you do, everyone gets it. Just cap them. It's over. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, right? It's also them. They're also saying it here, Galbraith and Isabella Weber. Harris's fight against price gouging is good economics, everyone. It's good economics. It's perfect. It's what we all wanted, right? They're trying to figure out the economics thing. They're getting closer. We should encourage them, right? More price controls. And what I really want to know is, when are the price controls coming in on the 50 million crickets, right? Because I'm not going to be able to afford Polish apples anymore. So I got to eat something, right? Well, I want the crickets. What's the price control on the crickets? Are they going to be runaway inflation prices too for the crickets? Am I going to end up paying like 25 US trash tokens for a bag of crickets? I don't know. I want to know the answer, though. I want the crickets price capped. I don't want to pay more for my crickets than I'm already paying for those apples and all the other stuff, right? So it's gotta go my way here. And just so you know where it's headed, right? Thankfully, other communist places are letting us know that it doesn't stop with price gouging, guys. If you don't like the price of your house, right, and then the housing market is tanking, don't worry. You get your government, according to Bloomberg Energy, they're promising in China, everyone, to keep buying the houses that they're making, right? No. It's going to be fine. It's just, you got to make sure the eggs are the right price, the crickets are the right price, and it's the same as the housing. You just got to make sure everything is the right price that the government says it should be. And then we're going to have utopia. We're going to have utopia soon. Once they buy all the eggs and the crickets and set the prices, and then also the houses, it's going to be amazing around here, guys. It's going to be amazing. And if some people tell you, you're losing your freedoms, or you have to give up something to make sure that the eggs are being bought and that the houses are being bought, right? Don't listen to them. This story has nothing to do with the fallout of handing your country over to financial interests that don't care about you. This has nothing to do with that, right? This is just about how the people in Ukraine who had to go be refugees really want to go back to Ukraine, but the places they're in are like, we kind of like the cheap labor. And now some people say that's slavery. It's not slavery, guys. Because in Poland, they don't even have the apples anymore. That's where a lot of them are, right? They're over in Poland. So, I mean, it's not really slavery because they're going to have cricket soon and there's going to be stuff for them there. So they're going to be fine. It's okay. I understand why they wouldn't want to let those Ukrainians go, though. I get it. Like, it's economics again. I get it. I get it. All right. So we got that. Now the next ones are, how I always like to go into the gaslighting stories that they use for Waltz and Kamala Harris. There's some good ones today. Right, we got this one from USA Today. Gus Waltz broke the internet with his tearful love of his dad, but then the bullying began. He got bullied. Jesus, he got bullied. Will those Republicans not stop? And then I heard there's even like Bitcoin toxic maximalists that keep bullying people on the internet. I just want a better world. Now, I don't normally break character for this, but Adam Townsend had a really good take on it. And he says, they want to take your money, your property, your job, your family, your faith. They call you every name in the book and make their speech protected. Your rebuttal's a hate crime. But mocking dear leader's fat idiot son is a step too far. Don't mock that fat idiot. Don't do it. Okay. He's great. I bet you he eats all the crickets and he's a swell guy. Don't pick on young people like that, guys. It's terrible. Don't do that. All right. This is what they got on the Washington Post. Vice presidential candidate Tim Walz has won multiple hot dish contests, guys. He is a ace in the hole. I got in 1 week. I've got the Big Bad Brome Fair, the Brome County Historical Society's largest country fair in Quebec. That's what I got. It's the oldest and the largest country fair in all of Quebec. It would be recognizable to many New Englanders. It's even better than most of the New England ones, frankly. I go to a lot of New England fairs as well. My hometown fair is number one. A few 100,000 people are going to come through my rural agricultural area, and you're going to get the best cows, and you're going to get the best horses, and the best pie, and the best sheep, and the best chicken, and the best everything. And we've got a great infrastructure for the whole thing, right? They've put it all up. It's a wonderful time. So we're going to see all of these things, right? We're going to see all the hot dish contests. I don't think Tim Walz is going to come around because it's Canada, but you never know. Right? He doesn't know where he's going. So we got all kinds of fair stuff coming. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. But he's apparently his 2014 winner has a layer of sophistication. He's a great hot dish contestant, right? Good for him. Now, Oprah, right? This is all the water carrying that's going on at the DNC, right? For the convention. So if you didn't notice, Oprah during her speech, this was just a weird timing thing. She was going on about the cat ladies, the Vance, when he calls them cat ladies, that the whole Democrat Party is just cat ladies. And it was just a freak occurrence. The camera panned to an actual cat lady, right, while she said it. They didn't know. It just sort of came out. Oprah said cat lady at the same time. The camera was already on this woman, right, I think. And that's what happened. So, but the Washington Post is letting us know that during her speech at Wednesday's Democratic convention, Oprah Winfrey took a crack at J.D. Vance's remark about childless women. Teresa, you're going viral. One Maryland woman found herself at the center of it was a lighthearted moment. It was lighthearted. It was great. I actually liked it. It was great. And this one, it's the same thing with Joe Biden, right? They had Joe Biden go after midnight. And some people say it's because they were trying to hide him. Some people say it because he just yells and rants that it would be so embarrassing. They couldn't show it to anyone. So he ended up speaking after midnight Eastern time, right? So, but he did do his speech, but they're letting us know at the Washington Post. So it's kind of the same with like the cat lady, like don't look here, it's no big deal, right? It's true, no big deal. They're saying the same thing. On Monday, President Joe Biden didn't begin speaking at the DNC until 11:28 p.m., an hour when television viewership has historically tailed off. But data released by Nielsen shows the viewers have mostly been sticking around. It's okay if he was on at midnight. People watched. People watched. It was great. No big deal. Here's the truthful news. I don't know what to make of this in Moscow time. This is in the Atlantic. They're saying white collar work is just meetings now. They got more. There's more to it, right? So they admit that. Then The Hill says Kamala's moment, the pantsuit is truly empty. What's going on here? Are they reporting real news? And then finally, this ditty. The U.S. government report says fluoride, twice the recommended limit, is lowering IQ in kids. What's going on here? That's also Moscow time. All right. So lowering the IQ in kids, right? What's going on with the kids? Is the water? Is that what's making them dumb and stupid? Is it the parents? Are parents getting dumber? Or is it the schools and what's going on at the schools? Right. Well, here's a little tip. We got a little help here from the Washington Post. And this is our last Moscow time story of the day. We got a little tip, right? So this lady's going to help us figure out, some people say it's the fluoride, right? But she says no. She's going to help you. This beautiful woman is going to help you. She's a librarian, everyone. And she says, what book should my child read next, right? If you have trouble finding books for your kids, you can go on the Washington Post. And she says there's more out there than Captain Underpants and Dogman. The children's librarian, Sylvie Schaefer, is here to help you navigate the shelves. This is in the Washington Post today. Sylvie, what is Sylvie going to recommend to our children? Any guesses? Any guesses what Sylvie's got on her mind for your kids? She's not a cat lady, guys. She's not a cat lady. She's going to help your kids learn about the new queer conscience. Okay, it's really important that Sylvie Schaefer, right, gets to talk to your kids about their queerness, their conscience, about being a queer, all that stuff. It's really important, right? Because our education is falling apart in America. Our education system is falling apart. Parents don't even know what books to recommend to their kids. So you can go to this librarian. She looks great. She looks awesome, right? And you can ask her, what book should I read next, right? And then she'll say, there you go. She's got her recommendations, right? Now, that's it for Moscow time today. But Peter St. Onge, who we love, right? Who we love, Peter St. Onge. She says, how did American politics get so dumb? He says, easy, government, schools. We can track one for one the decline of American political discourse and the rise of public education. Take people who can't name a state or don't know what the Supreme Court is, wash them with decades of left-wing propaganda, stick them in a voter booth, and here we are. So if you guys don't know, St. Onge is a great guy. He's a Quebecer like me, but also lives in New Hampshire because taxes and the stupid Canada. You can't really live there. It's a dump. So we're, sort of state neighbors, but he's in the same boat as me where he's kind of a Eastern Townshipper, it's called, which is that part of Quebec where that country fair that I just mentioned is going to be. So, he's taken a great interest in education. And when you cross the border into that part of Vermont and that part of New Hampshire, you really do start seeing some of the great education systems in the United States. In fact, Vermont was the first state that did the charter school thing where you can actually withdraw in the voucher school way. You can withdraw the amount of money the government would normally allocate to you as a kid and put it into a separate system. So if you're not aware of what we can do in some states in America, and it's becoming more and more popular, you can actually withdraw from the public school system and say the public school system would have given 20,000 US trash tokens to your kid to attend that school, or the school would have gotten 20,000 US trash tokens because the kid was attending that school. In the United States, in certain states, you can actually get that as a coupon or as a voucher. So the 20 doesn't get sent to the school anymore. It gets sent to the mother's pocket, and the mother or the father can then purchase the education skills or classes, that the kids want. So Vermont was actually the pioneer of this system. And the reason was Vermont has so many boarding schools and private schools for New Yorkers and stuff to come up. And what was going on is the public school system in Vermont wasn't as affluent and didn't have as much money. And in fact, some of the schools were closing. And so what the government in Vermont said was, if you can't afford to go to the private school and there's no more public school in your town, we'll just pay for you to go to the private school. So it'll be a free tuition situation. So a lot of kids in Vermont already benefit from that, right? So they already get to go to very expensive boarding schools simply because they live in the village where the boarding school is. Now, this set into motion a thing that happened across the United States with a fellow named Corey DeAngelis. So I had Corey DeAngelis speaking with what's his name? He's gone nuts with the Gaza stuff. He wrote the famous book Safedian, right? So Safedian, I had Safedian, who has a very strong interest in education, right? So Safedian and Corey DeAngelis spoke at Bitcoin 2023 about a lot of this stuff and a lot of the what was important for education going forward, how Bitcoin has already achieved some of these goals when it comes to breaking down the normal education structures. Of course, Bitcoin meetup culture has been the most successful instrument through which people have learned financial literacy, right? There's nothing that's been as good as that out there ever, right? Nothing has taught people about the problems with quantitative easing and government budgets and collateralizing people's birth certificates and all of this stuff. It was a huge lesson to myself and many people included, right? I've often said that I was a financial illiterate until I learned about Bitcoin, and I worked for the Senate Banking Committee and I was a lawyer and all these things. I still didn't know what the hell was going on until I found Bitcoin and Bitcoin meetup culture, which is where you start to really learn about finance and economics. But of course, he's correct, right? We have such a poor education system, and the reasons for which we have this poor education system really does lie with the government having taken over things and pushed parents out of the formula. Now, I often say the charter school system still has one weakness. It's sort of a bridge to get to where we're going. The charter school system still requires parents to be the consumers. You can look in education and understand who the customer is and who everything is oriented towards by just looking at who's paying the bills. It's a follow the money situation, right? So in the case of education, follow the money in public education, and the person paying the bills is the government. So they're the customer, they're the client. That's who the education system is oriented towards satisfying. It's satisfying the government, satisfying the people who are paying the bills. When you put it into parents' hands, you're making the parents the customer. The parents are the ones paying the bill. That's a great system. It really does work, right? But it has a weakness. And the weakness is it requires parents that are active and motivated and interested in their kids' lives. If you don't have that, you're just going to get more shithead people. So there has to be one more solution, because wishing for everyone to have good parents is just magic. You might as well just say my answer is, I want magic to come into the world, and I want wizards and people with magic powers to educate people. Because if you're saying the answer is we need better parents, it's true 100%, but it's also impossible, because we're a generation away from that, at least a generation away, at least a generation of the Bitcoin standard away from having every parent capable of being the customer in education. So there has to be something else that doesn't require parents to be involved. And we've seen it with Bitcoin education, right? The amount of Bitcoiners that sort of take on this responsibility, that take on the role of educator, of teacher, and really making the student, in this case, the student becoming the customer. So I'm talking about a change in who the customer is. It's gone from government. It will go to parents next, and it is going to parents next. But after that, it will go to the actual individual. And that will mean, people offering, in the same way that Bitcoin meetups are voluntary, right? You just show up, someone does something, people show up. And that's we found out that that's the best system out there to educate people. And because we found out it's the best system out there to educate people, because it actually does put the onus on the person who's spending their time getting educated, right? It doesn't require money necessarily, but imagine the difference when everyone who goes, and that's what we've seen in Bitcoin, the people who have found themselves at the Bitcoin meetup culture have gone there on their own steam, usually on their own volition, on their own trajectory, on their own path, because they're curious about what's going on with the money and what's going on with the inflation and what's going on with the printing and what's going on with the bailouts or whatever it was at the time that brought people there. So, or what's going on with the war machine. So you've got this sort of voluntary identification of most Bitcoiners where they have questions they want answered and they go down what we call the rabbit hole, right? Which is really just a reading list and a curriculum, right? The rabbit hole is really a type of curriculum in the end, right? If you really boil it down to what it is. So that's where you get these folks that are choosing this form of education. So ultimately, we're going to get to that point where we've got individuals sacrificing their own, sacrifice is not the word, generously giving their own insight and their own time in order to be the type of teachers that we need to get there, right? So with all that in mind, with this shift going on between schools as the customers to parents, mothers, and then these individuals that are voluntarily giving their time, I think no better person is, let's say, embodying that shift more than Nicole Shanahan, who we talked about quite a bit yesterday. So Nicole Shanahan is, of course, RFK's vice presidential candidate. And I predicted many months ago that she would be a devastating blow for the Democrat Party and will have a huge role going forward in the election, simply because she's one of these mothers who's also voluntarily giving her time to educate people. She fits on the whole other end of the spectrum. She really is where we're headed. Now, a lot of people can say she's a whining person, she's whining and this and that, right? It's annoying. But you got to understand that the other side of the political divide in America, the thing that Bitcoin is trying to solve, has really turned into a gender situation, right? We've been talking about the gender divide in American politics for a long time, the low T males. They even admitted, CNN admitted at the show, you know, the Hulk Hogan and the tough guy thing, right? That's not really the demographic of the Democrats anymore. They're going after the kind of Tim Walz and the dad in chief, whatever his name is, the one that banged his nanny and impregnated her, and nobody knows what happened after that. And the one who they say now his daughter, Kamala's stepdaughter, is a model. What is she modeling? Coke bottle glasses? What the fuck's going on here? She's one of these ugly models, I guess. I mean, I don't want to make fun of anyone's looks, but what's happening here? If she would come up to me and I was still a teenage male, and or whatever, 25 or 26, and she's like, I'm a model. Okay. Very funny. So she's a model. And an artist, I forgot. And an artist. So contrast her with Nicole Shanahan, who is obviously, you know, you don't even have to, she's a beautiful woman. But here she is embodying this mom, this fierce mom thing. And she's in this thing. And this is why I would be shitting bricks if I were a Democrat. When you hear a mom talk like this, right? I am a mom, a fierce mom. I've seen the corruption of the country eat away at the soul of childhood. And nothing will ever take my eye off the mission to course correct that. And then she talks about how she's going to spend all her money. And she's like, guess what? There are no limits on what I can spend because this is what's going to happen. So this is a woman who has a portion of the Google fortune. I think she's got $1 billion or $2 billion or something like that. She's going to spend it all on this stuff. And I believe her. I believe it. Right. So she came out and did the mother thing yesterday. And this is what's required, right? Mothers and educators to really make this case. And because no amount of brainwashing can hide the kind of case that they're after here. This tugs at a much deeper psychological inclination than just the rationality of Kamala. Economists said she's great, right? What a great stepmom. So you got her saying this stuff. And then you've got Trump here yesterday talking about exactly what is going on here, right? At the Democrat convention, they said, we've got 70 days to act right. After 70 days, we can go back to acting crazy, right? So a lot of people are bringing this up. Now, contrast that with what Nicole Shanahan says, right? This is an honest person, it looks like. I mean, she's probably capable of lying, right? And it's not a don't trust, verify, doesn't take away don't trust, verify. But she's actually going and talking about how this phoniness, this craziness is affecting children, right? It's different than any other thing, right? Because this starts going back to the schools and back to things like that. So that's why she comes in. Not only that, not only does she talk about how the schools and education and childhood, devastating attacks on Democrats, devastating. This stuff is devastating, right? She comes out and after her very persuasive talk on that stuff, comes out and starts talking about the election stuff, right? Because of what's going to happen today with RFK and the Trump campaign. So she says, my old Dem buddies have been flooding me with frantic calls, texts, and emails. Unlike Roe, I wouldn't dream of airing those private conversations publicly, but the message is clear. They're terrified of the idea of our movement joining forces with Donald Trump. When I point out that the Democrat Party and their super PACs have done the sabotage to our campaign, their response is always, but Trump is worse. Here's an idea. Stop suing us. Let us debate. Quit rigging the media and the polls, right? And the polls. It's a simple formula. People will get it. Yeah. So Daniel here talking about the evil stepmother. You're going to start to get this contrast, right? This is a contrast. This is why I'm mentioning it. With the Kamala and the Coke bottle and I'm a model. I'm a model. With her, right, and the stepmom, you're going to have a contrast with Nicole and her little kid and the autism and all the stuff that's going on and that. So Wall Street here says it exactly like that. He says, Nicole says her former party colleagues are reaching out, begging her and RFK not to drop out and endorse Trump. Maybe they should have thought of that before they sued to get Kennedy and Shanahan off the ballot. So this is working out exactly as we said here at the breakup, as we said it was going to be. And it's coming into, I think, clear focus that Nicole Shanahan is going to start penetrating the mom bubble inside the Democrats. And this is something they have no defense against. Their defense against it is going to look a little bit like crying and whining. It's going to look exactly like we saw last night. So last night, their thing was such a disaster, their DNC thing. They spread all these rumors to keep the viewership high so that it wasn't empty in the room when Kamala was there, because they knew that was going to happen. I'm mind reading a bit here. But it looks like they tried to put in all of these rumors that Taylor Swift and Beyonce are all coming. Nobody showed up. They literally had the whole audience pumped and primed to see their queens, Queen Taylor and Queen Beyonce, right? So Laura Loomer says the Democrats intentionally lied tonight and said that Beyonce was going to be a special guest at the DNC to get people to watch. They planted the story with TMZ too. Beyonce didn't show up. There wasn't even a special guest tonight as promised. Democrats lied to boost viewership. A lot of people saying the same thing, right? You've got, let me get my notes closer to my eyeballs. You've got, this one was the funniest one with this little meme here. One DNC social media manager watching the Taylor Swift Beyonce surprise appearance speculation tweets pour in while Lin-Manuel Miranda warms up. And then finally here, you got Sean Davis saying Kamala Harris is so bad at this. Her own party had to lie and tell attendees Beyonce was coming so people wouldn't bail before the Harris speech and leave a bunch of empty seats for the cameras. Amazing. So, because these rumors were going on all night. Now, they tried last time with this shit. They tried in 2016. This is Beyonce showed up for Hillary. Taylor showed up and couldn't even turn the Tennessee Senate race, right? But they still believe it's the answer. So let them keep trying. But it won't be any longer, right? We see these things. This is what they had to do yesterday to try to keep things going. So first of all, everyone who bet on the poly market last night, because the rumors were so thick that it went up to 90-something% that Beyonce was showing up last night. So all these poly market bettors are making a mince, by the way. They're having a lot of fun because right now there is a huge gap between what the stupid people are thinking and putting in the news and how Polymarket is reacting, right? So the Polymarket has actually been slow. I know for years we said, oh, the wisdom of the crowds is going to be so much greater than individuals. That's not what we're seeing. Polymarket is trading at a day or two delay on the fake news. You could figure out that Kamala is going to lose way before the markets changed this week as the DNC was going on. It was, I was saying she's on a trajectory to win, but I still wouldn't have taken the bet. And I wouldn't have done that, right? Things are going to change. I didn't know she was going to come up with her fucking grocery price controls, which is perfect, right? That's the greatest policy she could have come up with. It's the greatest. It's perfect for her, right? It's perfect. So, then you get, no amount of Rachel Maddow saying how yesterday's speech was an inflection point in history, right? She does 0 interviews. Now, I don't think you should talk to the news. That doesn't get you anywhere. But she can't persuade otherwise. She can just get the fake news to carry water for her, but that's going to be harder and harder, right? These were all the fake headlines from the... These were all the fake headlines from the thing. So the one I just canceled also had the big story that Kamala was going on about last night. Her friend in high school. She was in high school in Montreal. Okay, it's not even an American fucking problem. So there you go. But going back, these were all the disaster moments, according to Vigilant Fox, from the DNC, right? So first of all, Joe battles the teleprompter and loses. This is when they were the electricity, couldn't figure it out. Kamala preaches, it's outdated, wrong, and backwards to think more police creates more safety. Meanwhile, her convention looks like this. So the whole convention was a big police state, right? Then you go up here, and it's an unhinged liberal loses his mind at the mere sight of Vivek Ramaswamy. So every one of the conservatives that showed up just got called every name in the book, and it was rough and violent. Total opposite of what happens when a Democrat goes to a MAGA show. It's usually like, hey, come hang out, right? We've also got CNN obliterates the DNC's fear-mongering hoax about Donald Trump and Project 2025 with a devastating fact check. That's this one right here. I'm going to say fake news on that because they went out of their way to say that he didn't author the report, but anyone could have checked that. Meanwhile, he didn't fact check any Democrat. Nothing. So if you take a moment to do a one little measly fact check on Trump to say he's not guilty of this or that, won't even change anyone's mind, right? Because it's just stupid Daniel Dale. So Daniel Dale goes out and doesn't bother fact checking anybody else. No fact checks on Biden. How many times was the Fine People hoax spoken aloud on their stage? Many. He never fact checked it once, right? So this was a fake fact check. And there you go. There he is again. Daniel Dale. I watched a house burn with him once. He was my, I guess he was a neighbor. I don't know. When I lived in Ottawa, his fact-checking career started in Ottawa with Stephen Harper. And so I used to see him in the press gallery all the time in our parliament. And just randomly, it was actually a crazy story. I'd forgotten something in my house and I was leaving because I didn't really stay in Ottawa. Whenever Parliament would leave, whenever Parliament was sitting, I would be in Ottawa, but it doesn't always sit. So I would go to Toronto or Montreal. And I'd forgotten something, so I drove my car back and parked, not in my normal parking spot, but I parked in a spot. And I was about to park. I'm telling you, because I was going for 5 minutes. I was about to park at a fire hydrant thing. Like I'm only going to be 5 minutes. But then I luckily saw another one just up ahead, and I said, why even bother? I'll just go into that one, right? So I go in, I go get my things, I come back down, and indeed, the very house in front of the fire hydrant where I was about to park was on fire, and the police would have ripped my car apart to get to the fire hydrant. So I was like, already, wow, how lucky am I? The one time normally I would break the rules. I wouldn't really care for 5 minutes, but I don't know what came into my brain that day to play by the rules, but it worked. But anyway, Daniel Dale was there too, watching the place burn. And I was like, this is crazy. This was a long time ago, though. He wasn't as retarded as he is now. And he hadn't sold his soul completely to be a scumbag, boot-licking son of a bitch like he has now. So it's a totally different situation, right? So there you go. We got all these funny things that the show did not achieve. We tried to see Jill Biden, right, says she watched Sleepy Joe dig deep into his soul, right? That's why he dropped out. He dug deep into his soul, right? And that's not how it went. You had the Mike Lindell, you had Jake Tapper. So I guess Tim Walz lied. His wife never had IVF, right? No, not that we're surprised. Matt Walsh was in the crowd here, right? You get this one. Matt Walsh snuck in on these guys. This was also a scam. This is another scam, right? This was a trans person trying to read the New Jersey votes, but she couldn't get her pronouns right, and it took forever. So it was all good stuff. It was all really fun. But here's where the things get back to reality and back to where Bitcoiners are going to be the biggest thing, and where Elon, where RFK, and where this Nicole Shanahan girl are going to shine in the days going forward. So you had Bernie actually come out and say to the audience, say to those people that they rigged their own primaries. Now it's going to go mostly over their head, right? Because Bernie can't really be too direct on any of this stuff because he's complicit in most of this shit. So he can't really go out and say that, right? But he does say billionaires in both parties should not be able to buy elections, including primary elections. But that's what happens to him. That's what happened to him, right? And then, I thought I had a good quote from Tucker, but that's fine. But then yesterday, so all this is going on, right? All this is happening. You get the DNC and all this fake news and all of the gaslighting and all that stuff. But at the same time, you had another one of these states yesterday come out and say, this is right here. This is the Supreme Court in Arizona. This is the law requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote. So now we've got Georgia, we've got Arizona, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got, what's the other one? It doesn't make as much of a difference, but it's still big. Texas. Yeah, Texas. So now you've got at least 4 states that are going to change the way they're doing things. And that's why you're going to have RFK and all of these people. The most effective thing they can do now, the revenge trajectory for them, is not arguing policy. It's not, they're going to keep modeling good health and good food and better medicine. That's all going to be great, right? But what they're going to be able to train their guns on is election integrity. They got scammed. They got screwed. And they're going to be able, for the next 70 whatever days, Virginia is part of it too, Doug T says. Yeah. For the next whatever days, these people are going to be devastating for election credibility, for believing in this stupid system. And remember what happens to the dollar. Without the election scam, the dollar will actually die. And so, again, we're coming back to my 2024 prediction for this election. Everything is going to change in this election. And Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, Nicole Shanahan and RFK included, are going to be the mirror, the pivot point over which people understand that the elections are a scam. And they're going to be able to fill in the blanks between a scam election and scam money. And that's what we've got going on. That's where we're at, which we couldn't ask for a better position to be in. I look forward to RFK's speech today. It could all just be a pause, like, he's saying he's pausing. He's off the ballot now in Arizona, apparently, like clearly off. He was getting sued to be off the ballot by the Democrats anyway. So you're going to see one of the greatest revenge tours. I predict RFK and Nicole Shanahan are going to be highlighted from now until the end of the campaign. And their arguments are going to be absolutely devastating for the Democrats. I don't think they can survive this. Now, we know there's cheating elections and blah, 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 blah. But I'm starting to see the actual just complete destruction, just a blowout. And if it's a blowout, if it's a landslide, then the cheating won't work. So that's where we're at, guys. That's why it's getting funnier and funnier. All right, I got something at 9. I apologize. I got to get going a little early. Let me read a couple of these quotes before I get out of here. A lot of comments today. A lot of comments. They didn't change it from global warming because it was debunked. I believe the global warming, when they called it that. Good morning, Breakup Gang. Good morning, Edwin. Hope you're doing well. Best show, Tomek says, Portugal ocean is cold AF, global warming confirmed. Fake news, where is a blackout? I praise the Lord for leaving me in the dark. And when there's a the worst part about owning solar panels is the butt stuff. What in the holiest of fucks? Sorry for the language. I got cricket trap. Crypto truth. He's been trapping crickets. You cricket poacher. You cricket poacher. Are you doing it humanely? Oh, remember the fake Saturday Night Live ads? There was one when I was a kid that always got me laughing. It was when the bug goes in, like the cockroach trap, it goes in, but instead of just like poisoning it, it actually caught them and then tortured them and yanked their legs off and made them sit around. It was a very funny thing. Tomek says they have to save the NPC. Yeah, this is why look, Tomek, I've always argued I'm very pro UBI and CBDCs. Not for us. Right? I don't care. I'm never using one. I won't use one. I'm never going to be involved and get a vaccine and then I can get a hot dog or something like that. But for the sludge people, I mean, Bitcoiners have to be real about this. Either they all die or we give them a UBI. I mean, there's no way in between. Taylor Lorenz is not getting a fucking job stacking sats, guys, okay? She's not getting a job at a coffee shop making your coffee and then DCA averaging into Bitcoin every week. The sludge people are not doing that, okay? And the opportunity won't even be there for them in the same way that it was for us. So there is no other way. If Bitcoiners want to embrace death, go ahead. That's a legitimate thing. I'm not, I don't think these people are going to procreate anyway. So it's not like we're losing upside on humanity. I think they've all got their dick cut off or their vasectomy or their whatever in the past few weeks, and they're just going to keep going with this. So there's a whole generation out there that's not going to be doing anything like this. And that's okay. I can live with that. It's an anomaly that we went through a time where everyone was able to have kids. It's going to go back to something a little more like it's been in history where the stronger genetics are the ones procreating. So they get all they want, right? And the UBI and everything. And hopefully it all goes cool and they have a nice last few years of their life. And the crickets, they get into cricket flavors and we can put a little maltodextrin onto that. It'll help them and cook them all. Definitely, we've got to get rid of the seed oil still. Bitcoiners, the seed oils aren't going away, guys, okay? We don't have to eat them. But we're not going to be creating gun lubricants. So what do we do with all the canola? Now, I get it. You take the fields down. You don't make as much, but it's still useful to keep the sludge people alive. And if the convertible unit for a U.S. trash token is a cricket cooked in seed oils, I'm okay with that. I would like something better, but I don't want it to cost us a lot of money. I mean, we have to make sure we're productive still. So we have all of the rest of the world to take care of. But the sludge people get what they want. Yeah, so it's coming, Tomek. I'll argue any Bitcoiner about the need for CBDCs and UBI, any one of them, right? I'm always ready for that argument. You just have to be, right? The ridiculous prices on olive oil are just unreal. It's just a little olive oil to my butter or coconut oil so my eggs don't stick. Yeah, well, you know what I found yesterday for really price? I found some good ghee yesterday. I was excited about that. Ghee. I get my olive oil at Marshall's or the Max. TJ Maxx, it's cheaper. Yeah, Marshall's olive oil is usually pretty good too. They usually have some ones that you've never seen before. That's what you see. Become a cricket connoisseur chef, veterans. I really want a Siberian cat. Yeah, they're beautiful, Robert. They really are. I love my Maine Coon. Good for you, Deb. I would love a Maine. I was gonna guess Manifesto as a few. I've been allergic since I came back from Iraq. Probably all those experimental jabs they gave me. Yeah. Lots of unschooling in northern New Hampshire. We love it. This is what happens when everything gets military weaponized. Seems like it began accelerating when Vault 7 Secret CIA got leaked to WikiLeaks. Yeah, maybe. Muslim Bitcoiner. Peter St. Onge basically summed up fiat education in a sentence. Yeah, he's good at that. Florida had a magnet school system that parents seem to really love. I didn't know that. Owning a Maine Coon shouldn't be a boast, though. We had a 6-toed farm cats that just showed up when I was a kid. Yeah, we got some. Surprised no one's dropping cats off at my farm. I'm not there enough to protect. Kamala, the evil stepmother. We love it. She's a mama bear. They hate that title. Yeah. I think we really need a low IQ former sex worker for president. Those are just rumors, Daniel. Come on, we're not spreading fake news here. I have no proof at all that Kamala Harris sucked dick for money. Okay, none. I have no proof of that. No one does. I argue anyone who thinks that she was once a prostitute and low IQ. Come on. I have no way of testing her IQ, but I doubt it's that bad. Okay? I doubt it. Reminds me of the special guest that was going to show up at Nashville. Yeah, but do you know the real story of that lightning event? He was actually coming. So he sent his security team. The reason that failed, you're not going to believe it, but it was actually ego. It was literally, we could not solve it. So it was up to Trump and Elon themselves to negotiate how to do it. The fallout of their negotiation was their spaces last week. But Elon flew over us, making it look like he was coming after he had spent 2 days doing security checks, after his security team integrated with the Secret Service and did a joint check. It really just came down to the two of them. And Trump didn't want to wait. So we get that. In the end, Elon was just late. But it was real. So we did our best to figure it out, but it was not like what they did last night. I don't think that's what was going on with Beyonce and Taylor Swift last night. Maybe though, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they couldn't, maybe actually now that I think about it, maybe it was that. Maybe it was Taylor and Beyonce. They're kind of divas, which I'm totally fine with. I'm a pro diva person. You know, I don't have any problem for real. I have no problem with divas. They're talented people. You know, people want to treat them that way. Absolutely go ahead. So it could have just been two divas that couldn't figure out the deal. Trump and Elon are kind of two divas in the same way, and I totally support their egotistical wants and needs. Why should they share the stage in a way that's unbecoming to them, right? So there you go. Even before politics, Seaberger says, I thought RFK Jr. was sincere, fighting the vaccine issues for years when everyone called him a crackpot. He wasn't worried about what people thought. Yeah, I liked RFK. I often said that, you know, he has some credibility issues, and I don't want to, you know, I've always said he's probably wrong about most of the stuff he talks about, but he asks the right questions, and that's what's important to me. So asking the right questions is more important than being right about the answers. We don't know the answers, which is why you have to ask the right questions. So that's what I like about him. Tomek, you should print some t-shirts with breakout logo. Good idea, Tomek. I'll probably do the it's not you, it's USD t-shirt. That would be fun. It's not you, it's USD. So I'll do that, CB. I'll do that for you guys. I got to get some merch going in the store, you know. So I appreciate it, Tomek. I appreciate the stuff. The only, you know, there's things I wouldn't do. Like I won't do coffee, for example, right? If I don't like the coffee, it's not going to work out. And then every one of you every day is going to be like, you know, I like my coffee. I love your show. But there'd always be someone who would say that, right? I like your show, but I like your coffee. I don't like your coffee as much as my coffee. And then I'll just be fucking answering coffee questions all day, which is my idea of hell. So that's why I've never done a coffee. But the t-shirts, that I can do, because t-shirt and coffee are not quite the same thing. I don't want, you know, coffee is a hard thing. I would be the same. There could be my favorite show in the world could come out with a coffee. And if it's not my coffee, I'll probably be an asshole. I don't know if you know what my wife's nickname for me is, but it's Prince Latte. She calls me Prince Latte all the time because I obviously am very picky about stuff. And, I'm very particular about how I have coffee, right? So there you go. Prince Latte is her nickname for all my little, and I'm the same with a lot of, like, you know, I have to have Tabasco sauce and da 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 da. So that's how it is. All right, team, that's all I got. Peace. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great weekend. I shall see you all Monday morning, and I'm looking forward to this weekend. And next weekend is the big bad Rome Fair in Quebec. Can't wait. My kids are all excited. We're gonna have a great time. I'll tell you what the best cow and the best whatever was. It's gonna be great. Peace.